Coming up next on The Voice of Alabama Politics, pre-K is succeeding. Also, the V-Team takes a look at why is Martha Roby retiring? And it's the 300th episode of The Voice of Alabama Politics.
This is where we hold them. This is where we fight. This is where they die. And these Shields boys.
150 hours of kicking, telling it like it is. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to The Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V-Team. Welcome all.
Hello.
Hey, Jack.
How y'all doing?
Yay.
Welcome back.
Thanks. Good to be back.
You're looking good.
It's good to be semi-normal.
I don't know about all that.
Semi-normal, Jackson.
Well, I've never achieved the real normal, but
Yeah.
anyway.
God,
But
we're glad
thank
to have you
and I
back.
really appreciate the viewers who called me and asked about me and checked with y'all to see how I was doing.
Emailed me about
Meant a lot. So
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Well, we are happy to have you back and for our 300th episode.
Yeah, I know. I wanted to be here for that, so I
Yeah.
could give y'all a leg up.
We appreciate it. That was hard to
Jonathan's
respond
losing it
to,
because-
right? Beth, the DNC, the Democratic National Committee, last week rejected the ideas for rules and bylaws from the Democratic Party of Alabama. Nancy Worley went to D.C. to plead her case. And basically, Harold Ickes, who's one of the heads of the DNC committee, said that their last election was about as confusing as an episode of the Keystone Cops, meaning it was silly, meaningless, and a spectacle.
Right. Well, there's nothing organized about the Democratic Party in Alabama. And all of this with the DNC, I'm just glad. I mean, Senator Jones has to get some credit because he, I think, is the one who really brought this to their attention, that Nancy Worley and Dr. Reed have been running a power grab for the past 10 years in Alabama, and it's time for it to stop. And so what we saw this week was they took their new proposed bylaws changes to the DNC, and the DNC rejected them because Nancy and Joe now have to write a set of bylaws that is as inclusive as the Hispanic community, the LGBTQ community, the youth community, the Asian Pacific Islander community, as it is of the Black community. We're not trying to do anything that's going to minimize the role of Black voters. We're trying to lift up as many different voices as we can, and the DNC agrees with that. Nancy and Joe don't want to write themselves out of power.
Right. I mean, Jack, it's much easier for the GOP.
Because you're all a bunch of white men.
Yeah.
There's white women, too.
Yeah, I was going to ask
They
you
have like
on
7 or 8
y'all's
of those.
diversity committee. Was it a bunch of tired old white men? Well, we have our own set of problems within the party that I have worked for years, which we'll talk about in another segment.
Yeah.
But it's going to be hard to push Nancy out the door. I mean, it might take 2 men in the truck.
It was hard enough to get her off
No,
the toilet. So, but the fact is, Susan, that since 2010, when they lost total power, they have done nothing to regain power in the state and as far as elected offices, because it is just absolutely dysfunctional. And as Harold Ickes said, this is plain and simple. This is not about race. It's about power.
Yeah, and I mean, basically all that I can see that Dr. Reed and Nancy Worley have done since the 2010 election is just to ensure their own grab for power, to make sure that the way they were doing these votes, these, what do you call them,
The appointed at-large positions?
the at-large positions, was just mainly to get their people in the boat, just be able to get themselves voted into power again. And they've done nothing else for the party.
Something funny about Worley in an at-large position.
Now, Worley's elected from her seat up in, Harvest, Alabama?
Yeah.
With an address that goes to an abandoned lot, but that's apparently within the bylaws for her to do that. Everybody knows she lives here in Montgomery,
Yeah.
but she holds a seat from up in Huntsville. So, I mean, even that right there, you've got to lead by example if you're going to lead, and she needs to be running from in the seat that she actually
Well, I
lives in.
understand their
agree.
diversity thing, but I think the Democrats have got to figure a way to win back some white people too.
Yep.
Because they've certainly lost a lot over the years.
Well, but having Dr. Reed call people like me who just want inclusion in the party, calling us, rabble-rousers and everything else because we dare to speak against him, that doesn't do anything to make people want to step up to the plate.
And any of you guys that go out, also, Nancy Worley is saying you guys are being paid for by the Republicans, which is ridiculous.
I'm still waiting on that check to
Yeah.
come in, too. I checked the P.O. box, so they can send it whenever they're ready.
Well, I wrote an opinion piece this week for the Alabama Political Reporter in which I made the case in these hyper-partisan age, at least in the state of Alabama, should not overlook 40% of the population, because 40% of the population, at least, believes that the state government, which is controlled by Republicans, is working against them. But, Jack, you and I were talking about it, and there are a lot of Republicans who feel that this Republican party is working against them as well.
Well, for example, the State Republican Executive Committee passed unanimously, maybe one vote against it, to eliminate Common Core. Totally ignored it, mainly because of Del Marsh, but they totally ignored that. Then they passed a resolution recently saying, we oppose the gas tax. What did they do? It overwhelmingly passed. So these folks come to Montgomery and they forget that us in the hinterlands have a voice too. They tend to get down here and forget that.
But the thing is, Susan, if we had a Democratic Party, Mike Hubbard, convicted in public corruption, Bentley, convicted, run out of office, Roy Moore, run out of office. Then you've got the majority leader of the House, Republican, convicted, ran out of office.
And how many other of his lieutenants?
And about 5 other Republicans were indicted and made some kind of deal with the federal government to keep from going to jail. They used to talk about Democrat corruption. At least 10 Republicans in the last 4 years have been convicted of crimes or removed from office.
Do you know why our party chair can't say anything? Because before we had the new ethics laws, we had the old ethics laws, and we had a Secretary of State who was indicted for campaign finance violations and misuse of her office, and now she's the chair of the Democratic Party. So she can't say anything because she's just as bad as they are.
But I think the bad thing is, Susan, we have far too many people in our state not being represented by either party.
Exactly. And most of the reason is because when they come down here to the Montgomery, they forget the caucuses. They forget their constituents. They're basically down here to enrich, a lot of them, not all of them, are down here to enrich themselves or enrich their buddies in some, pay-to-play scheme or whatever, and not really thinking about what the people want them to be doing.
Okay, we're gonna have to leave it right there. You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics, our 300th episode.
What a great opportunity for your success. Adding 500,000 highly skilled employees to our workforce by 2025 is how we stay ahead in Alabama. Our economy is stronger than it's been in years, and a skilled workforce is more important than ever. Things move fast, so choose your path. Your success is waiting, plus a great future for Alabama. Success Plus. Go for it.
The Energy Institute of Alabama promotes reliable, affordable, and clean energy to help grow our economy, create high-paying jobs, and build public support for Alabama's energy industry. access to clean, affordable energy continues to be an issue of vital importance in the halls of government and around the kitchen tables across our nation. The Energy Institute of Alabama is the best source of energy industry information and how it affects households across the state, from convenient energy production to alternative fuels to solar power and beyond.
What are you doing today, babe?
I thought I'd head down to the lake with the guys, do a little fishing. Of course, none of us will be wearing our seatbelts. I'll lose control of the truck, wrap it around a tree, and kill us all.
Okay.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Susan just suddenly, Martha Roby out of the blue, just says she is not running after, she's 5 terms in Congress. And she said, she gave an explanation that basically said she had prayed about it and decided that it was time to step down and do something else.
There's a lot of theories out there, but the strongest one is probably the one where her district is going to be drawn out after the next census. We're going to lose a seat here in Alabama. Everybody knows it. It's probably going to be her district that's targeted. So, she'd basically be there for another 2 years.
I mean, Jack, I watched Martha Roby during the Mueller hearing, and she looked like she had swallowed either a lime or a lemon. She did not look comfortable grilling Mr. Mueller. And of course, she was not happy with then candidate Trump about the episode with Inside Hollywood or what Access Hollywood or Access Hollywood. Do you think it's that she's maybe just tired of the Republican Party as she sees it, or is there something more nefarious?
I don't think there's anything nefarious. All they're rumors, but I think she caught even her staff by surprise. The rumor I heard from talking to some folks in Washington, she just came in one day and announced she wasn't seeking re-election and it was a private matter. And so I don't know. Maybe she's tired of it. Maybe she wants to come home.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it surprised anybody though that she's stepping out. Other than the rumors about why it is that she's stepping out maybe did, but more people voted against her than voted for her in the last election, didn't they? So maybe she saw that right.
No, in the last election she won pretty handily, but the election before,
that's right,
when
16.
Becky Garrettson was a write-in candidate,
that's right.
She got She got kind of surprisingly close.
Yeah, and I think, again, Martha's done a good job for the district, especially for the VA. But, it just, when they tell me that they prayed about it and they're stepping down, I just always...
It usually means something ungodly happened, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Oh.
Isn't that usually the case?
Oh, man, I didn't think about it that way.
Well, sometimes.
Jeez, liberal
Well, it's funny she said that I've cast every vote with the deciding principle that Alabama always comes first.
Yeah.
I think for the most part that's true. At least the district comes first, except for her take on Donald Trump when he was a candidate, and she kind of vilified him a little bit, but she certainly got past that.
Bradley Byrne did too, and as soon as he
disagree
saw
with
it
her.
wasn't going to work, he took it back.
Yeah, absolutely.
Who are you hearing out there in the wings that's waiting to take Martha's?
Well, I hear that Wes Allen from Troy is looking at his dad, Gerald, is a state senator from Tuscaloosa. I hear that Troy King, the former attorney general, is looking at it. I hear that Will Dismukes, a new state rep from Millbrook, is looking at it. And also that Perry Hooper Jr. is looking at it. Well, you can say what you want to, but
I didn't say anything.
He's pretty connected indeed.
And
I
he's
know.
like a little mini-me to Trump. There's Dr. Evil and mini-me.
Well, he's certainly tenacious.
And they are the same color.
Yes, and have similar hair.
And Perry can get you by one thing, attrition. He will wear you down. But
Yes, he will.
maybe, and I don't like the fact that Troy wants to run and that Perry wants to run. because they're old. And I want to, well, old in congressional terms.
Yeah.
I'd like to see somebody young run for the seat. However, since the seat's going away in the 2022 election, I don't guess it really matters.
No, except for somebody's going to walk out of there with a pension.
And that's the one thing we've heard.
No, you'll be there 6 years to get your
Do
pension.
you? Okay.
Yeah, that's the one thing we've heard from most folks is that when they were looking at redistricting, they saw that we were going to lose one seat, and they specifically looked at the Wiregrass and said, this is where we need to cut because the population's not really there. There's no booming industry there. I mean, the last big business project there was Country Crossing,
Exactly.
which Bob Riley shut down. So it's hard to imagine, but that seems the way it is. I mean, I think the people in charge of redistricting were hoping someone would step down. She did. If that was the reason, there would probably be a nice job.
Well, it's
for her.
surprising to me that she just didn't go ahead and run in 2020 and finish out the second congressional districts.
And it could be just something else, and that's just the cover story. Who
And
knows?
maybe it's a private matter we don't need to know about.
I don't know.
It's a private matter we do need to know about.
Well, generally, in
always hoping for
in
that.
Montgomery and D.C., when are there private matters that we don't know about?
Well, there are a lot of privates you don't see, but
Yeah, right.
Thank God.
There's a few colonels and some majors, too. We talked about this last week, a couple of things. The ATF came in and did an investigation and found that some of our sheriffs have been selling concealed carry permits without doing the essential background checks. And we heard from the Sheriff's Association, Bobby Timmons, one of the great public servants of our state, who said they are working hard to address it and they think they will have everything nipped in the bud very soon, Beth.
Good, yeah, and I know that he kind of pushed back what I said about, should a sheriff be held liable if something goes wrong? And, I don't want for anybody to construe me saying that I think that sheriffs should be held responsible for all gun violence that happens. I'm saying if they have a duty to do background checks and to do that due diligence, I just want to see that that's being done.
And I
You
know
were saying
that.
that if someone would pass that shouldn't have passed and received a gun and committed a crime.
Right, if
That's
the
what you're
sheriff
talking about.
breached their duty to do
Exactly.
those background checks, then we have a problem.
Well, and again, sometimes we get to going up here and everything's rocking along, and it's just like we said that the sheriffs get to keep all the money. Well, the sheriffs get to keep part of the money in some counties and another part in another county,
Bigger
and all of
parts
it
in some, smaller parts in
Yeah,
others.
it's a different.
It's all over the map,
It's
yeah.
a whole different mix. Sometimes we have time to get into the weeds like that. Sometimes we don't. We've got about 30 seconds, but there is a report from Parka
Very
that
exciting.
says that Alabama's children who have gone through pre-K are 50% less likely to be disciplinary problems when they are in their grade school years.
Right.
And through on.
And because they're saying that it has to do with they're ready for class, they already know how to sit still, they already know how to pay attention. This is very exciting news.
Yeah. And something positive about the state, Jack.
yeah, too bad I didn't go through it.
But you were a safety patrol guy.
I was. I
look
whipped
at
a
you.
flag and stopped traffic.
He was a little geek.
You're
Right
still
on.
You're still stopping traffic over in parts of Montgomery.
Yeah, well,
All right, well, we're gonna have to leave it right there. We're coming back with a little celebration of our 300th episode. Can you believe it's been that long?
I can't. It's
crazy.
Wow.
You're watching The V, the voice of Alabama politics. We'll be right back.
Hey man, what are you doing today?
Playing the game. Thought I'd go out for a drive later, maybe. Text some friends while I'm doing it. Scroll through social media. Kill a family 4 and a head on collision.
Cool, man.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
A lot can change in 5 years. Except those smile lines you treated with Bellafill. Because that's about how long Bellafill will keep them smooth and filled. 5 years. Now you can always look your best without all those injections, appointments, and costs. Bellafill is the only dermal filler that stimulates and maintains collagen growth long term. Now time is on your side.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. This is our 300th episode, a big milestone for us all. So on this occasion, I thought we'd sit down with our producer, Jonathan Barbie, and he'd take us behind the scenes a little bit, Jonathan.
Behind the scenes, we have a great time doing this show. I can't believe it's been 300 episodes.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of fun. We've had our ups and downs. But, you know, the show starts off, you know, everybody arrives here about 10, 10:30, 11 on Thursdays, and y'all start in the meeting room. What do y'all do in the meeting?
Well, I mean, you know, it depends on whether we're in session or out of session, but right now we're out of session. We sit down. I write a script a couple of days ahead of time, then make adjustments at the last minute, and we send it out to everyone. And then the day of taping, we sit down before we tape, and everybody goes through the script. We actually do it segment by segment so that everybody's familiar and gets to speak their mind. A lot of times they speak too much of their mind in there, but we cut it down to speak just what's on their mind over here.
Well, as you can see, the behind-the-scenes stuff, you know, in the meeting, you know, things get a little crazy, people laugh, and we have little children running around, so that works out really well. And then we go to, you know, while we're doing that, you got Joel who he gets the lights ready, sets those up, turns everything on, gets the electronics going. Chandler's usually getting, or Charlie's usually getting the scripts printed out. Chandler kind of works on, you know, behind the scenes things on the food. And then, you know, I start doing graphics. You know, I'll start loading up the graphics. You know, back in the studio room, we have a separate studio room. Joel gets cameras turned on, lights set up, and then, you know, ladies start to do their makeup, and I went into the ladies' restroom to try to catch it. That was a bad idea.
Right.
Then we come back and we get the cameras ready. I'm in the control room. We cut the show in the control room, and, you know, we go back and forth, and we can switch cameras. Our cameras are automated, and so that makes for a really cool-looking show.
And this really allows, you know, all the digital stuff, all the automation allows you and Joel to do the job of about 10 or 12 people.
It really does.
And it really helps in the overhead. And, you know, y'all do a terrific job with making us look good. And Chandler does a great job with ads. And Charlie is our girl Friday on everything. So we're really blessed to have a super crew.
Absolutely. And we all love doing this show. And I'm glad everyone got to see a behind-the-scenes glimpse of what we do. Maybe we'll show some more later. Or we'll invite a guest out one day.
Yeah, we should do it. All right. Well, thanks. We'll be right back with our 300th episode celebration.
Welcome to the voice of Alabama politics,
where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts.
I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by the V team. Welcome all.
Well, that was a bit of a surprise, but y'all mock me all the time behind my back.
Certainly.
I like that it took Susan 12 takes to get it right.
It wasn't 12, it was like 4. It's
14.
perfect.
Who's counting, right? You know, we've been at this nearly 6 years, 300 episodes, 150 hours. You know, Jonathan has only been late, 1,700 times?
Yeah, 300 episodes. He's been late 432 times.
At least
Right,
432
we calculated
times.
the wait time was like 1,400 hours.
Yeah.
Right,
something
1,400
like
hours
that.
waiting on Jonathan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's all right.
Driving in snow, driving in traffic, even though Beth drives.
So in August.
Yeah,
he does
right.
a great job, though. You
He
have to
does.
say, Jonathan is extremely talented and does a great job. Everybody here does a great job. But Susan, you know, we've been at this a while, but I guess I better start with Beth over here first, so we come to you last. Beth, You've been on here a long, long time.
I was your first baby. I'm
Yeah.
your oldest and the best. Y'all got it right the first time. No, this has been fun. It's been interesting growing up with y'all and having a second family in the team. It's really been great. Kind of coming together every week. We'll come together every week and like updating on each other's problems and like it's great. It's been a lot of fun.
Jack, you know, you've been here a long, long, long time too, and
Jack.
you're just such a big part of the family, just like Beth.
Yeah, look at me.
Well, you're
Not as much as you were.
Yeah, you're half the man you used to be.
It's been a really good experience. I mean, for one, it keeps me up politically on what's going on, especially in state government, because that's what we focus on mostly. But it's been a very pleasant experience. We've had our ups and downs. There were times when we didn't know where our next meal was coming from. But
that's right.
There were some snakes in the woodpile.
we survived the Indians and the drought and everything else. But we're here, I think, to stay. And I hope our viewers believe that we offer them an update of what's going on in state government in a semi-objective fashion. I know we're all from different political persuasions, but
we appreciate y'all. And Susan, you have been here since the envisioning of this thing, and
yes,
you didn't actually call me crazy when I came up with this idea.
I didn't out loud, but but I thought it was a good idea. It's turned out really well, and like Beth says, we're all one big family. We've got the 2 new additions now, and it's been a fun ride. And I really hope, and I think we have helped educate some of the voters on the things that are going on here in Montgomery. And to me, that's an accomplishment.
And I know that when you and I talked and Jonathan came up to the farm, and we discussed it with him, and the idea was that we would talk about politics on the show the way we all did it at lunch or in the State House, where it's no holds barred. We have no friends when it comes to the truth.
A lot of enemies.
And we're going to tell it like it is, not like how they wanted to hear it.
Enemies.
And I think that to me has made the difference.
I agree.
And you know, we started the Alabama Political Reporter because we didn't like the way people were reporting the news on the internet. And we started this because we didn't like the way they were covering it on television.
Right.
And so we have hoped that we have made a difference. And what has made more of a difference than anything else, our faithful sponsors, and most of all, our audience members, those of you who tune in every week to watch what we do.
I think this show has breathed the life, and certainly the publication has breathed life into the lost art of investigation in journalism.
And I have to say, in defense of the television stations, we have 30 minutes. They only have like 2 minutes to cover stuff.
Well, anyway, it is time for us to celebrate the 300th episode. Do you want to light up, Susan?
Sure, I'd be honored.
All right.
I'm just going to get in here.
You always do that.
I'm sure they're going to blow out.
I have to make sure it's not poison. Mike Hubbard's still not in jail.
That's true.
To our viewers, our sponsors, and to our team, happy 300th episode, right?
Good job, everybody.
All right.
Joel, you too.
You've been watching The voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.